Hello everybody, the Law Gnome is here. Today we're going to be talking about one of my most anticipated films of 2019, and of course because of the fact that it is part of the DCEU, I was extremely excited to finally go to the theaters and see Shazam, which is also known as the DC's Captain Marvel, just in case all of you Marvel Captain Marvel fans were not aware of that. This is pretty much the only reason why we didn't get two Captain Marvel titles back to back, because it probably would have confused the average moviegoer. This film stars Zachary Levi, Asher Angel, Jack Dylan Grazer, and Mark Strong. So, the DCEU has been on a massive hot streak lately. The last two solo DC character films were absolutely fantastic and well received by the public. Wonder Woman was a landmark achievement. Aquaman was absolutely spectacular. So I was very excited because the trailers looked good, and there was a lot of skepticism because a lot of people weren't sure if Big became a superhero movie, how would it be received by the public. So I went to see this movie. I thought that I was going to have a really good time, and yes, I did walk out of the theaters truly having an overall good time. But did I think that this movie was just as great as Wonder Woman and Aquaman? Sadly, the answer is no. I did have a good time, but there was a lot of stuff that I thought gave this movie a couple of problems. But with that aside, there still is a great deal of positive stuff to discuss. The first positive that I want to talk about is that they really tried to give the fans of Shazam a great deal of nods. Even if people were fans of the 1974 Shazam live-action television series, there was a little tribute to that as well. But Captain Marvel, or Shazam in this case, is one of the older comic book superheroes. He's been around since the 1940s. He's here before characters like Aquaman, The Flash, Green Lantern, meaning the Silver Age Green Lantern and Flash, as well as some of the most popular Marvel characters of all time. So the fact that this specific character was given a movie was definitely something bold and something fresh that I think a lot of DC fans would truly appreciate. While the movie does not take place in the made-up city in the comic books, Fawcett City, there is a homage to that as well. There is also a great deal of accuracy in terms to some of the most landmark pieces of Shazam's lore, and of course one of the things that I was really excited to see was how they were going to give us Billy Batson outside of Shazam. And one of the things that I was very surprised with was the fact that they really gave us an inside look into foster care and really pulled back the layers to show that foster children and foster homes have a lot of assumptions and a lot of broad brushes are painted over foster parents and foster children. So the fact that we actually got a true insight to the fact that there are truly loving people that want to give orphans a home and be loved is a very nice thing to see. And that also gave us a great deal of chances to build upon the chemistry between the kids who live in Billy Batson's foster group home. I thought that Asher Angel was a very good Billy Batson. He definitely captured what I thought he would be, a good kid but still had a little bit of a dark side to him. Without a doubt, the highlight of this film is Jack Dylan Grazer, who plays his fellow foster home roommate, Freddie Freeman. Now, Jack Dylan Grazer is a young actor that I have been talking about for a while. I loved him in the very first It film. He'll be back in the second one. I also loved him in the short-lived sitcom on CBS, Me, Myself, and I, with John Larroquette and Bobby Moynihan. And even though I didn't mention him, he did have a small role in Beautiful Boy, and for the small role that he had, he definitely shined, and I really think that he is going places. So to finally get a movie that really gave him a chance to give us his true acting talent outside of it was really great, and I'm really expecting to see some very good projects from him in the near future. Mark Strong was a very good villain. I also was very impressed with the fact that Dr. Thaddeus Savannah was given a lot of layers. The fact that we actually saw what his past was like. The fact that we saw how he lashed out against the world because of what happened to him in the past. Although I wasn't too thrilled with the fact that they chose Mark Strong because, let's be honest, all I really wanted was for them to make a Green Lantern movie and give him the ability to come back and play Sinestro, because even though the original Green Lantern film was a horrible flop at the box office, I personally have a soft spot for the 2008 Green Lantern movie, and Mark Strong is a main reason why I have that soft spot, because he was an amazing Sinestro. Djimon Hounsou is also in this film as well. He plays the Wizard, but he doesn't really have the biggest role. But Zachary Levi as Shazam, I really did appreciate him. There were a couple of points where I thought he was a little over the top, but you could definitely see that he was enjoying this role. He had a lot of fun, he had a great personality, and he really did capture what I thought a live-action Shazam would be. This movie, for me, really felt like a lighthearted version of Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. There were so many elements in this movie that I actually was able to compare to that specific Superman film. Even the score from Benjamin Wallfisch, which is very good, even felt like I was watching a Man of Steel lighthearted version, or even a parody, if I may. But one of the other interesting things that I thought about this movie was the fact that even though this movie really is its own solo project, they made it perfectly clear that this is in the DCEU world. And the best way that it was described was because of the fact that it was in a kid's point of view. You actually saw kids wearing t-shirts and holding backpacks and lunchboxes, which featured all of the heroes that have already been featured in the DCEU, minus a couple here and there. But I thought that that was a very interesting touch, and it also showed that the average citizens appreciated these heroes in their world. So yes, that's a great deal of good stuff to talk about in regards to Shazam, but there are a couple of things that I really didn't care for in this movie. The one thing that was really surprising was how long this movie was, and I really didn't feel that it had to be over 2 hours. Granted, a 2-hour film is great. I really appreciated the fact that they tried to give us as much as they could, but because of the fact that they did try to stretch it, there were a lot of points in this movie where I just was finding myself bored. I was really surprised by that, just because of the fact that we got the character development, we already appreciated the characters, we appreciated Billy Batson becoming Shazam, but there were just some points where I was saying, okay, why are we still talking about this? Why don't we just move on to the next scene? I know that there's more of this story to tell. I want to see more. And it just kept lingering for a little while. But I really did understand why they were trying to do that, because they wanted people to understand that even though Billy Batson was pure of heart, he still had a lot of work to do in becoming a superhero. But probably the biggest problem that I had with this movie was, yes, this movie is in the DCEU, so there is a big dark tone in this movie, which is definitely something that the trailers kept well hidden, but because of the fact that this character is so wholesome and so lighthearted, it really didn't go well together. It had a horrible clashing. There were just points in time that, because of the fact that this ultra light and fluffy and this really dark and gruesome just slammed each other in a massive headbutt, it got to the point where massive amounts of this movie were just flat out cringeworthy. I was like, wow, this is ultra over the top, this is ultra cheesy, and I understand where they're going, but it's just not working for me. And it was upsetting to me because I absolutely have loved all the DCEU films. Now, I still do enjoy this one, don't get me wrong, but there are so many problems with this movie that I just wish didn't come with this movie. Now, I'm certain that people are going to go see it. It's already gotten a very good score on Rotten Tomatoes. I was very impressed with that, and the fans seem to like it too, and they should, because it's fun, it's enjoyable, there's a good time to be had by all, minus the movie's imperfections. It's a movie that I will be seeing again, because look, I like the Justice League film, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad. I enjoy them, even though those are also places where you can find massive imperfections. But what can you do? But the problem that I had with this movie was the fact that I was so easily able to point out a lot of the problems with this movie. And considering the high kick that the DCEU has been going on, to me I felt this sort of took a little bit of a step back, but I will, however, say in the general sense that it took a massive step forward, because that is 3 out of 4 in the last recent DCEU films that have been well received. It's going to make money, and it's going to give Warner Brothers the ability to make more of these DCEU films. it gives me a little bit more of a heavy heart to know that now that Ben Affleck is no longer going to be Batman, and we're still unsure about Henry Cavill, I wish that these movies would have been given the same kind of effort that these recent films have gotten, because we're in a good space right now. DCEU is moving forward. We're going to get Wonder Woman 1984 next year, and I'm telling you guys, I think that that movie is going to be fantastic. But I will still say, if you have been enjoying superhero films in the last recent years, be that Marvel or DC, and you just want to have another good time at the theaters, Shazam will definitely be a good choice for you. But for me, overall, I was a little disappointed, but I still did have a good time, which is why I'm going to be giving Shazam a 2.5 stars out of 4. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please leave your comments in the box below, and let's discuss Shazam. And don't forget to stay until after the movie is over. There is actually a hilarious end credit scene, and there's also a very interesting mid-credit scene, which I definitely think is going to pave the way for a very powerful Shazam sequel, and hopefully those improvements will be made. And let's also be very nice in the comments, please. I would be glad to have a little debate with you, but I have seen what can happen when the basement virgins get a little bit crazy and really don't want to see their fandoms talked about in a negative light. Look, I'm a comic book, superhero, pop culture junkie loudmouth. I love this stuff. But as a fan, I think it is healthy to let people know when your fandoms do you a minor disservice. So let's have a good conversation, everybody, and let's be kind. I will see you in the next one. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.